On the fog-drenched flight deck of the British carrier HMS Ark Royal, a massive 25-ton UK F4K Phantom II jet suddenly extends its nose gear by 1.02 meters into a bizarre high-angle stance. This extreme mechanical modification was the only way the United Kingdom could launch America's best fighter from its dangerously small warships. Without this radical and highly expensive redesign, the British fleet would have been left completely exposed and defenseless in the cold waters of the North Atlantic. In 1965, after the sudden cancellation of their own advanced domestic jet programs, British military planners were left with no alternative. On paper, their only tactical salvation would be to adopt the American legend, but doing so directly was a massive blow to British industrial pride. To protect domestic jobs and maintain their sovereign technology, the British government decided on a high-stakes gamble. They tore apart a flawless American design to rebuild it with British Rolls Royce Spey engines and domestic electronics. This decision created a mechanical beast that cost double the price of a standard American fighter, leading global defense analysts to argue that this was one of the most expensive compromises in aviation history, as the redesigned jet became incredibly powerful at low altitudes, but was actually slower at high altitudes than the original American version. It was a desperate attempt by a fading empire to maintain its global reach, forcing a marriage between American engineering and British pride. Before we go on, do you think a nation should always protect its domestic defense industry, even if it means paying double the price for a modified weapon system? Subscribe to the channel to join our weekly defense breakdowns, and tell me where you are watching from. To understand this military gamble, we must look inside the engine bays. The original American F-4K Phantom II relied on two General Electric Jseventy turbojet engines. These engines were narrow, highly efficient at high altitudes, and pushed the American jet to a top speed of Mach 2.23. But for the British F-4K, Rolls Royce installed two Spey Mark 201 turbofan engines. On paper, this was a massive upgrade. The British Spey engines produced 20,515 pounds of thrust with afterburner, compared to just 17,900 pounds from the American J79. This meant the UK variant possessed nearly 15% more raw power, making it incredibly responsive at low altitudes where British carrier pilots needed it most. However, this massive power increase came with a severe aerodynamic penalty. Because the Spey was a turbofan engine, it required 20% more airflow than the J79. To feed this thirsty propulsion system, McDonnell Douglas had to widen the engine air intakes by 20% and completely redesign the rear fuselage, making the British jet significantly wider and bulkier. This physical expansion completely ruined the clean aerodynamic lines of the original airframe. During flight tests in 1966, the real-world performance of the F-4K revealed a technical paradox. While the British jet could accelerate like a rocket at sea level and climb to operational altitudes faster than its American counterpart, it hit an invisible aerodynamic wall at high altitudes. The massive drag created by the wider fuselage restricted the F-4K to a top speed of only Mach 1.9. British aviation analysts quickly realized they had spent double the budget to build a heavier, drag-heavy fighter that was slower than the original American design in high-altitude interception missions, creating an incredibly powerful but deeply compromised warplane. While the high-altitude speed penalty was a disappointment, these radical modifications were not driven by vanity. They were a matter of absolute survival for British naval aviation. To understand why, we must look at the immense physical constraints of the Royal Navy fleet in the late 1960s. While American aviators operated their standard Phantoms from massive supercarriers like the USS Forrestal, which stretched 325 meters in length, British pilots had to land their 25-ton jets on much smaller warships. The flagship, HMS Ark Royal, was only 245 meters long, and its steam catapults were far less powerful than those used by the United States Navy. To launch the heavy F-4K Phantom too safely from these short decks, the aircraft had to achieve an extreme angle of attack immediately upon takeoff to capture maximum air lift. This led to the creation of the double extendable nose gear. Before launch, the nose strut extended by 1.02 meters, raising the nose of the aircraft by 11 degrees. This gave the jet the necessary altitude and lift to avoid plunging into the ocean after leaving the carrier bow. Furthermore, the interior hangar spaces and elevator shafts of British carriers were incredibly tight. To fit the massive American fighter into these confined spaces, the British version required further engineering marvels. McDonnell Douglas designed a folding nose radome and a folding vertical stabilizer, allowing the nose and the tail to bend inward, reducing the overall length of the aircraft to fit on British shipboard elevators. This was not a standard fighter design. It was a complex mechanical jigsaw puzzle engineered to keep the Royal Navy in the global power game. By the time HMS Ark Royal was decommissioned in 1978, the Royal Navy transferred its remaining F-4K aircraft to the Royal Air Force, where they served alongside the land-based F-4M variant until 1992. Armed with the British-developed Skyflash medium-range air-to-air missile, these modified Phantoms became the backbone of NATO air defense in the crucial GIUK gap, successfully intercepting countless Soviet Tupolev Tu-25 bombers during the tensest years of the Cold War. Yet, the operational reality of this twin-nation hybrid was a logistical nightmare. Because the airframe utilized American imperial measurements, while the Rolls Royce engines used British metric standards, maintenance crews required two separate sets of tools to service a single aircraft. This added immense friction, increasing aircraft maintenance downtime by 35% compared to the standard American Phantom fleet. Ultimately, the extreme cost of these modifications forced the British government to slash its original order of 140 aircraft down to just 50 production F-4K units. Each customized jet ended up costing the British taxpayer nearly double the price of a standard American F-4J, proving that a modified import is not always a cost-effective alternative to indigenous development. The legacy of the F-4K Phantom is a powerful lesson in military procurement. It proves that when a nation attempts to compromise between national industrial pride and real-world defense budgets, it often creates brilliant but incredibly expensive mechanical anomalies. The United Kingdom successfully kept its fleet air arm in the carrier game, but they paid a historic financial premium to do so. If you had been in charge of British defense spending in 1965, would you have bought the cheaper, faster American original? Or was paying double to protect British Rolls Royce jobs the right strategic move? Let us know in the comments below.